Hello, and welcome to Japanese Craft Beer Reviews. Today we're going to start, I guess we can call it a tangent, a series of beers that are not craft beer, are Japanese, not craft, but from the four major companies, and also one other unusual characteristic. They are either low or non-alcoholic. And I'm going to be taking a look at all of the beers that the four Japanese majors make, and those four are Asahi, Kirin, Sapporo, and Suntory. And we'll look at all the available beers that are non-alcoholic from them, except one which hasn't quite made it to my area yet, which is a new one. Non-alcoholic beer or low alcoholic beer, of course, has a very long history. In medieval Europe, it was something that was called small beer, and it's been around in many countries for a long time. During Prohibition in the United States, beer was made under 5%, and of course, homebrew was made. So the temperance movement had an effect on the production of beer. Of course, it eliminated beer production, and people were looking for something that tasted like beer. In 1990, Anheuser-Busch produced O'Doul's, which became a big hit, and Miller had their Sharps beer as well. This kind of beer is very popular in certain countries in Europe, Germany in particular, and of course in the Middle East, where alcohol is frowned on or banned. It's non-alcohol beer is 1/2 of all sales of beer. And we'll be looking at the characteristics of non-alcohol beer, and then in different countries which are popular brands, and then finally Japan. These beers are commonly lagers, but nowadays you'll find pale ales, IPAs, stouts, wheats, sours, all kinds. And I'll put a link to an article, a couple of articles actually, in the description section, so you can read more about this if you like. In many countries, non-alcoholic beer is by far the fastest growing sector, and that is true in Japan as well. Young Japanese are not drinking alcohol as much as their elders have, and beer sales have been declining for like 16 years in a row. And in fact, a bar opened in Tokyo called 0%, and it's apparently the first complete non-alcohol bar in the country. It's popular for its health benefits, of course, but unpopular among many people for a variety of reasons, and the most common is the taste defects. The processes that are used to make non-alcohol beer lead to a loss of aromatic esters, which are a prime feature of the aroma in beer, and also changes some other compounds as well. So basically, two ways of producing non-alcohol beer, and one of them is restricting fermentation, and the other is removing the ethanol alcohol from the beer. And restriction of fermentation can take a variety of forms. I won't go into all of them. Some of them are, for example, interrupting the fermentation, or cold fermentation to very low temperature fermentation to inhibit the production of alcohol. Special yeasts to try to produce a low alcohol beer. And ethanol removal, there are a number of ways to do it: vacuum evaporation, vacuum distillation, extracting through membranes, filtration, reverse osmosis, so many different types. And I read a few articles about this, and I didn't quite understand many of them. So in any case, breweries, there are a number of breweries that have produced beers these days, and you can find them listed many places, and you can find them in your market probably. Brewdog has produced Nanny State.
Weihenstephaner, Hefeweizen, alcohol free is another one. Rate Beer didn't allow them before, but now they do under low or no alcohol beer, and they have three categories: pale, dark, and wheat. And so a variety of very respected breweries are producing these. Weird Beard, Tiny Rebel, Schlenkerla, the smoke beer mavens in Germany, Mikkeller, and here in Japan recently, Kyoto Brewing, one of my favorites, Kyoto Brewing, produced a 1% Saison, and which is just maybe a little bit too high to be considered, but actually I think on Rate Beer it's up to 3% for low alcohol. So, and the beer is called Rebel Without a Cause. In Japanese it's Waka Genotari, which is translated as youthful indiscretion. So 1% Saison even. And some of the beers that we'll look at are made without fermentation. They're called beer taste inro, or beer taste beverage. And in general, the limit to be considered in this category is up to 0.5%. And we're going to look at a number of beers from these four Japanese breweries. In 2009, Kirin brought out their Kirin Free, which is a big hit. And then Asahi brought out their Dry Zero. Asahi Super Dry was the most popular beer in Japan. It still may be, I'm not sure, Super Dry. And they brought out Dry Zero, and that became #1 in sales for all non-alcohol beers, and I think it is currently. Asahi has 3 that we'll look at. Kirin has 4, and Suntory also has 4, and Sapporo 2. And we're going to look at 4 other beers that are contracted beers for the Japanese market. When there's one more by Asahi, which is called Beery, Beery, and it's been released in certain areas of Japan, but not where I live. So we'll look at that a little bit later. Okay, so we're going to start with Asahi, 3 alcohol-free beers from Asahi, and then we'll move on to Kirin, and then Sapporo and Suntory. Okay, and let's see what we get. Okay, I can't say I'm really looking forward to this, but we'll give it a go. Okay. And here we are looking at yet another non-alcoholic beer, and this is a import actually. It's contract brewed for Japan. This is called Veritasbräu, and this is a 0% alcohol beer, as you can see, 0.0. And this is made in Germany by an unspecified brewery, and it's made for a company in Osaka, in Toyonaka, Osaka, Japan, called Panovac, and I don't know anything about them. You see this very rarely at a few discount liquor stores. I think this is also at Caldi Coffee Company stores as well. It has 0 ratings on Rate Beer. It's not listed on Rate Beer at all, and on Untappd it's got 78 ratings, and the average is 2.38 out of 5, which is a little bit high for this kind of thing. In any case, so it gebracht nach dem Deutschen Reinheitsgebot, so made with the according to the Reinheitsgebot, in other words, no additives. And the ingredients do say it has malt, in katakana, malt, and beer yeast, hops, and natural water. So Veritasbräu, 0% alcohol. We're almost at the end of our series. The listing says 17. Well, actually I found one more, and we're going to do that. So 17, and actually 18 non-alcohol beers. It's been quite a journey. Not one I care to undertake again. All right, it's very clear, very pale straw with a half a finger of kind of frothy white head. Carbonation pretty minimal. You can see some of it floating up there. And aroma. Ooh. This is cattle feed, alfalfa, grass, maybe flavor similar, mild bitterness and mid-palate. Very thin, watery. So I'm assuming they use some sort of a process. This is not maybe a beer soda, but they simply strip the alcohol through a thermal process or something. It is very typical, this kind of thing. Not appealing in aroma or flavor whatsoever. Yeah, a lot of grass, and it tastes like extract. I don't think it is, but in any case. Once again, this is called Veritasbräu by unknown German brewery, made for a Japanese company in Osaka called Panavac. And you may see this somewhere. I don't necessarily recommend that you pick it up, but you may want to do that. That's it for today. Okay, we're going to look at a couple more of these, and then we'll move on to real beer. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.